What's up, friends of the good mood? This is Manni and welcome to the next video here on this Paramotor YouTube channel, which is in this case a little different topic. This time I was on vacation doing kite surfing, okay? So this is kind of an exception on the channel right here, doing something really crazy, something fun, something that I've learned 2 or 3 years ago and that I'm now doing for the second time in my life, okay? And for this we had to go to France, to the south, or we didn't have to. There's other kite spots also in Germany, but we were on vacation in South France near Marseille, as you saw right here, and we're right now on the ferry going over the canal, and this is the kite place, or where we are right now. There's tons of people kiting already out there. By the way, guys, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a fall compilation where I faceplant dozens of times into the waves. And I also show you how I learned kitesurfing at Sicily, so stay tuned. And if you haven't done that yet, guys, subscribe to the channel if you like the content and you want to see more content such as this. And it is very worth mentioning that while I was doing this right here, guys, I am still an absolute beginner, right? And while I was there, I didn't even know how to connect my bar to the kite anymore. All these information was gone in like 2 or 3 years. Here's my Becky, my girlfriend Becky right there. She was helping me to start the kite and all that, right? Because I taught her how to help me start and land the kite, which is really important because it's hard to do that on your own. It's a sport that you need like really two people for at least, and it's also good when you're out there on the water and kiting. It's good not to be the only one, because over the course of my kiting experience I lost my board multiple times and I needed people to bring it back for me. This is where she helped me start up the kite. You see it here. It went a little bit faster than expected, and that's what I'm calling to her right here, that this was faster than I expected, but you know, we got it up. It's all good. Now let's go and have some fun in the water. And it's important to say right here, when I learned kite surfing, I was at Sicily, I think you pronounce it in English, Sicilian in German. I was there on a little kite lagune. How do you say this in English? Basically what it is, it's like a closed up part of the water where basically there's a land surface coming out like 300-400 meters away. So, and the water is only like half a meter shallow, not even, like it's maybe 30 or 40 centimeters deep. So 2 feet maybe, not 1 to 2 feet deep. It's just like super nothing, okay? That means where I learned to kite, there was no waves. There was only super shallow water like this all the time for like 400 meters far, and there was no waves at all. And when I came here to South France, all of a sudden I had to deal with waves, which first off, it's been 2 or 3 years since I last time kite surfed, okay? So I had to get all those information back into my head, and then suddenly there was waves, and I was like completely, it was too much for me. I couldn't handle it. I surfed for 4 days. What you're seeing right now, that is the beginning, that was the end. No, that was the last day where I was fully back into the topic. I got it all and I learned it back, okay? But that took 4 days to get to this point. For the first 2 days, the first thing and the most important thing you need to do when you're doing kite surfing, you are depending on the wind, obviously, right? You need a certain amount of wind to be able to kite surf. And secondly, the wind is only pushing you in one direction always, you know? But you can't, if the wind comes from the land and pushes you out into the sea, one thing you really need to be able to do is to hold your ground against the wind, to kite against the wind, to cross against the wind. That's how I think we say it in English, crossing against the wind. Because, you know, from theory, the wind will only push you out into the water, but if you cross and lean against the waves and the water, you can cross against the wind, and just basically you cross in one direction and you cross back. And this is how you don't lose meters or height against the wind when you take in relation to where you started. And the first 2 days were insane, ladies and gentlemen. It just took me forever to find out how to, you know, cross. And that's why I'm gonna show you here in the video also my practices of crossing against the wind and also doing the turn. When you go in one direction and you want to now go the other way, you need to make a turn, and that turn is something that needs to be practiced quite a bit because you know, I wasn't doing this very well in the beginning, but then in time it slowly came to me and I could finally do it. There's two different camera perspectives. I have the GoPro on me, and I have Becky filming the whole thing from the thing here yo. That's, I love the camera perspective. I'm speechless for a second because I really love how it looks like. It's such an amazing sport. The best thing about it is all you need is the kite in your backpack, a little pump that's also in the backpack, that board in your other hand, and then the harness with a bar. That's all you need, and then you can go kite surfing with just a bicycle, and you've got all what you need with you. And how you start, this is a really amazing camera perspective here. I'm glad my GoPro got this so well. Basically, I stopped this for a second. Now I dive down with the, I'm diving the kite down near the, towards the water surface, and the faster the kite goes, the more pull it will have, right? And so it drags you out of the water and puts you on the board. If you get the balance right, you can stand on the board and you lean back against your kite, against the power from your kite, you lean back against it, and by leaning back, you angle your board against the waves. And so you have you basically have a resistance against the wind direction, and that resistance against the wind is exactly what allows you to not just go downwind like crazy, but actually keep your height and actually cross against the wind. As you see right here, this camera perspective here shows it very well. You see the angle we're going right now. Now I'm making the turn. And now you see the angle I'm driving or kiting at when I come back. And you'll see that I'm now coming, the wind comes from here in this direction, but I'm not losing height against the wind. I'm actually making meters towards where the wind comes from, you know? So, or basically, yeah, and that's the interesting part of it. The wind comes from here and goes in this direction, but I'm actually making meters this way. And that's what you need to learn when you do kite surfing. That's also what you need to learn if you do the sailing on a board or whatever. You need to learn how to basically outplay the wind. It sounds stupid, but that's what you gotta do. And that's what I've also been doing right here for quite a bit. And in this camera angle here, on this short clip, you see exactly that practice. I'm practicing the turn. The turn is very important. If you can make the turn without sitting down, then you will have lost less meters against the wind because you can immediately start driving back and angle against the wind again. And you see here, by the angle I'm going and the angle I'm coming, you'll see exactly that I'm very successfully, driving in the opposite direction of which the wind comes from. It just takes a little while because you always have to cross one way, cross the other way, cross one way, cross the other way. And you basically do this the whole time. When the wind comes from here, you just do this the whole time. And this is how you drive in one way that normally physics would just, first off, you would think physics would prevent you from getting. But it's possible. And yeah, so this is what I had to learn. And what you see right here, this was day number 3, okay? The first 2 days I always lost. I started here, and then I went to like hundreds of meters downwind. I ended up at the beach, and I couldn't get back up. That's what my 2 first days. Every time I managed to get back into, I had an accident, I fell into the water, and I lost all those meters again. And this is day number 3 where I finally got it back. I finally knew how the whole driving against the wind, crossing, and how not to lose any more distance to the wind. And it took me 2 days to get to this point, even though I've learned it in Sicily. But as I said, Sicily was different. The wind was different, and the water was different. Here, if you drive out 100, 200 meters, you can no longer stand. You're in deep water, like Okay, maybe 2 meters deep. It's not that deep, but it's deep enough for you not to be able to stand. Now that means you cannot get your board, and that's a big problem that I had a couple of times. Look how confident I am, like doing some freaking yeah, boom, and then look what happens after. Whoa! Alright, that was a little bit, pathetic, but hey, no matter. It's just having fun, right? And yeah, so very important. My biggest issue was that I kept losing my board in the first 2 days. I made some mistake with my kite. I put it into the power zone. I wasn't ready for it, and that means you're just gonna face plant 5 meters forward into the water. And if you don't have your board on your feet, then it's probably gonna be back behind you. And the problem is now the wind pushes from behind forward, and you have a kite 20 meters in the air that catches the wind and just drives you forward, but the board is behind you. So how do you get your board? That's really difficult. You kind of I fall into the water again. You kind of have to cross with the kite above you without having your board. You have to cross using the wind, and then you can get your board back. But that's a very difficult thing for a beginner like me to do. And what I needed, I made it sure that people understand I'm in an emergency situation. I had a real emergency because the wind was coming from the land. It would push me out further and further into the sea, and my board was 20, 30, 40 meters away already. That was a real problem. I was fighting for 20 minutes with the wind and with the kite and with everything. I was so out of power. And then finally somebody understood that I was in a problem, and they came, they collected my board. I don't know how they do this, by the way. They're such pros, dudes. They just drive directly next to the board. They get down, they take the board, with one hand, they control the bar and lift back up, and then they drive with their kite over their heads with my board in their hands and their board on their feet, drive in front of me, and then they drop the board like 20 meters in front of me, right? But the good thing is they drop the board where it's downwind, so I can just use the wind to drive with the kite over my head to the board and take it again. 20 minutes of fighting, heavy fighting against the wind, and against these things. Do you see the waves? Do you see these massive waves? Dude, I've never had to deal with such stuff when I was at Sicily. I never had to deal with this. So, day number 4 is the day you're seeing right now. Everything you see with the GoPro on myself, that's day 4. And that's where the wind was so powerful. Very, very powerful, and then it stopped for a second, and then boom, monster power again. And the waves. In Sicily, I could not have waves because the water was only that shallow. Here, the water was deep, so we had some really waves, like, I don't know how high, maybe 60, 70 centimeters high. How much feet is that? God damn it, maybe 2-3 feet high, but I don't know. No, wait, that's not 2-3 feet. That would be 1.5, 2 feet. Oh man, I'm not so good at I gotta learn this again, sorry. But the waves were really high. I think they were like 60, 70 centimeters sometimes. And one thing that I really had to learn is how to not drive and fall into the freaking waves all the time, right? Because basically what you do, if you're not used to that, you just drive with your board, and the wave comes, and your board bores into the wave, and you do a face plant because you're basically stuck in the wave. But what you need to do is you drive over the wave by lifting your leading foot up a little bit, and the foot behind you. In this case, you can see it here really well. The foot to the right now, or behind, is the other one, and the leading is the first one that's in front. And you need to put some weight on the one that is in the back and lift your foot where it's in the front, so that you are lighter, and then you can lift up your board a little bit. Every time a wave comes, you lift up that side of the board, and then you drive over the wave. Oh man, it took me so long to get this right. I face planted into waves like 500 times at least, and I swallowed as much salt water as I've probably drunk or taken as much salt to me in these few days as I normally do in a full year without kitesurfing, man. I was so sick. And then I came back out, as you see right here. I decided that's it. I'm done for today. It's just so freaking windy. It was really windy, man. You see the waves in the back right there. It looks shallow, like it looks like a little bit of waves. But if you're a beginner like me, I'm doing this symbol here. This means I want to land. I'm telling this to Becky. And so she was filming me right there, and now I'm walking back onto the beach. She understood that I'm coming down for a landing. No, wait, I remember. I gave her the GoPro. That's right. I gave her the GoPro, and basically I asked her, is it still on? And she was like, yep, it's on. And so here's a fall compilation, okay? Let me just show you a couple of face plants that I had here for a little while. And boom, there's one. Tick, and into the water. And the waves, whoa, whoa. And also starting is really difficult when you're in the water, right? Like that. Because you always see new waves coming. Every time you just had one coming at you, and there's already the next wave coming in. But as I said, in time, at day number 4, I finally got it. I finally understood how this stuff works. I was able to drive against the wind, I was able to get where I wanted to get, and I was able to not face plant every time there was a higher wave coming in. Although it did still happen, it was no longer as crazy as it was before, and so I was actually driving. Yahoo! I was actually having a blast right there. And although this isn't paramotor flying, it is also a sport with wind, and it's fun. I felt like, hey, maybe you guys also consider this kind of a little bit similar topic, and want to maybe also see some of that that I've learned. Those are my 2 sports, by the way, that I do right now. I'm doing kitesurfing and paramotor flying. Those are the 2 things. Although I'm still waiting for my chance to finish my paramotor training so that I can finally start recording some new video footage for you guys, and also obviously fly. But so far I am out of luck right now. I have to wait like half a month, or no, at least another month before I can finish it up. And when I learned kitesurfing, just to show you this for a second, I talked about this for a lot. You see back in the distance there is land, right? And where I'm kiting right now is literally just this deep. That's all it is. That deep. And if you lose your board, it's not a problem. You just walk back to your board. And I could not do that when I couldn't stand. So this was the ideal condition to learn how to do kitesurfing. That was literally, that's 3 years ago when I did kitesurfing for the first time, when I learned it. And you see how easy it was. No waves, standing around everywhere. And yeah, this is my kite trainer, by the way. He was standing right there next to me. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think about this alternative sport that I do from time to time when I'm maybe on vacation with Becky or whatever. And, yeah, tell me what you think. Was I good? No, I wasn't. But, at least I had my learning curve. And I was successfully practicing, and I learned new things. I am now able to cross against the wind again. I know how to connect my kite to the bar and fly it and do it. And I know how to get from A to B where I want to get. And I know how to not face plant against the waves every time. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment down below. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe as brutal as a man can hit for more. Thanks for being with me. You guys are awesome. As always, Manni signing off. With kitesurfing this time. Bye-bye. And by the way, the next video is probably going to be paramotor flying again. No, it's absolutely going to be paramotor flying again, because I've just shown you all the video footage I had for kitesurfing. And, yeah, see you then. Bye.